At NTV.
A very good morning. I'm glad you are still with us. We are going into our Kickstarter discussion, and we do so as I bury myself in the Daily Monitor here on a story about LC operations being illegal beginning today, and that's what lawyers are saying. I'll be introducing my guest very shortly. Let me just take you through a deep dive into the modalities or the legality and illegality of this whole thing. LC operations will be illegal from today. The judiciary view is, according to the spokesperson, Jameson Karemani, when asked about the legality of the documents, including letters that will be issued by local councils for court use, such as bail application, he said the decision will for now lie in the hands of the presiding judge or magistrate. Letters issued by local councils to be used during bail application will be determined by those courts handling the matter. For now, we cannot generalize if they are legal or illegal yet. That's according to the judiciary. Effective today, and all duty that is going to be executed by village chairpersons from LC1 to LC3, whose term of office expired yesterday, are illegal and null. That's interesting. I'm joined on the show by the women MP for Wakiso district, that is Honorable Betty Naluyima. There's a lot that is happening. Local administration leadership dilemma. What exactly hindered the conduct of elections for local councils 1 and 2? A very good morning, Honorable.
Thank you so much. Good morning to our viewers. Once again, I'm Betty Naluyima, the woman MP for Wakiso district, and also the shadow minister for local government in the country.
I've forgotten that.
I think that, yeah, that's why NTV got interested.
Yes.
You know, for us, we are the alternatives to what is happening. And interestingly, if you were very keen and you followed Parliament last week, we raised this matter. We were projecting that we are about to come to 10th July. And the way, these are administrative units, LC1s and LC2s. And for us, we are seeing that by 10th, this is what is going to happen. You may wonder why the concern, okay? And why could we raise that matter a little in advance? We even reminded them. You recall, as we operate today, the women
when you
councils,
say reminded them, be specific.
We are talking about
cabinet.
We are reminding about the cabinet, the executive.
The executive
it was our side that to raise this matter.
That's right.
And on top of the LC1s and LC2s are reminded, because when we raised it, the speaker could tell us that the following day they're going to give us an answer. Then we told them, as the Minister for Local Governments comes in, let him also come, let the government also, Prime Minister, prepare an explanation about the women councils that have already expired. They're operating illegal. But you may not know the consequence of what's happening. When you look at the Local Government Act, which I have with me, apart from what we could ordinarily see that you need that LC letter to move to a bank, to go for right away getting
Accessing
your national ID, accessing anything. The Local Government Act clearly gives us functions, and now let's understand the functions that have been stalled, because literally from today onwards it means these functions have stalled.
Take us through.
The functions of the parish and village executive are the parish, and this is under section 49 of the Local Government Act. The parish or village executive committee shall oversee the implementation of policies and decisions made by its council, and shall assist in the maintenance of law, order, and security. B, initiate, encourage, support, and participate in self-help projects and mobilize people, material, and technical assistance in relation to self-help projects. C, at the village level, vet and recommend persons in the area who should be recruited into the Uganda People's Defence Forces, the Uganda Police Force, and the Uganda Prison Service and the local defense units. D, serve as the communication channel between the government, the district or local council, and the people in the area. E, generally monitor the administration in its area and report to the higher or district council. F, generally monitor projects and other activities undertaken by the government, local governments, and non-government organizations in their area. Carry out, that's under K, carry out other functions which may be imposed by law or incidental to the above.
Okay.
Now, as we talk today, wherever the different LCs are, over 80,000 of them, because when you combine the LCs
LC1
ones,
and 2s.
yeah, we have 70,000, then LC2s there in 10,000. So when you combine all those functions, today literally, because of the unseriousness of the people who are manning this country, we are seeing a gap being created. Why are we doing, why bring all this and do this to the Ugandans? You are failing Ugandans to move on in all these aspects that have been going on, because we should recall, we have not just realized that 10th July 2023 is going to come today. No. As soon as anything gets on, you just know by the different mandates that are given in this country, you just know that we are going to have an election. There is no way we shall reach January 2026 and then tell me you are not in the know that we're supposed to have elections as a country.
All right, interesting there. Let me just bring this home to the layman out there. If this day, the 11th of July, I need a letter to go to the bank, or I'm being recruited for a job and I'm asked, could you bring the LC letter? I cannot get it. If I do, it will be illegal. Won't it manifest as an executable document?
I just need to advise now all those who have been advising others and who have put their requirements right now to first have management meetings. If you've been having a requirement that you need an LC letter, as soon as possible, please sit down. First, decide on the key requirements you'll need from those clients of yours to make a decision excluding an LC letter. Because right now as we talk, you will have several consequential judicial requirements, whereby even on an agreement, we have a stamp of an LC, and one is saying by the time you put this stamp on this very document, the LCs were illegal. But we are asking ourselves, why have such a crisis in the country? You may get it that, as we raised this matter last week, the Prime Minister comfortably could tell us that the country doesn't have 59 billions. Just imagine, we've just passed a budget of 52 trillion. And this matter, our argument is that this matter has not just come to your thinking. It's not a disaster. The way we can have Bududa slides, or we have the floods in Kasese. Even at times I have my Lake Victoria just around in Entebbe also flooding. So
your Lake Victoria, okay, interesting.
Yeah, I represent a serious part of Lake Victoria.
All right.
So, but I'm just saying, in this country, why are you first of all denying Ugandans their constitutional right? And how can you make Ugandans to suffer in such a way because of your poor management and planning? I'm telling you, if you look at Article 1 of the Constitution of Uganda, we are saying all people belongs to, all power belongs to the people who shall exercise their sovereignty in accordance with this Constitution. This Constitution further gives Ugandans under Chapter 5 the right to vote. Article 59, every citizen of Uganda of 18 years of age or above has a right to vote. And then below and everywhere, you are seeing that Ugandans are being told it's a must for them to vote. Now, this is a moment whereby they also exercise their roles as citizens of Uganda. And they are entirely supposed to be led according to their will, how they wish. Why am I even looking at this as a further question to be answered? Recall today we have a very big question about decentralization. Those of you who have seen some arguments we brought forward, we are saying it's a decentralization in Uganda as enshrined under Article 176. Ugandans, as they came together, those days we would have been younger when 1995 Constitution was put in place. Under Article 176, we put it very clear that the principle of governance in this country is going to be decentralization. Decentralization is where you are ensuring that power comes from the center, which is the central government, at what parliamentary level, the executive, those are now, that's the center, central government. But below us, we also have the districts, we have the municipalities, even these LCs,
towns, yeah.
They are also administrative units. They are part of.
They are classified under town boards, right?
Yeah, no.
Okay. Not
No, the town board is also another level.
That's
it's another level,
okay.
yes. So now, particularly the local councils we are talking about, LC1s and LC2s, they are referred to as administrative units. So for them, their powers are entirely under now local governments. They're not their powers. They are also under what I mean, there are certain level of powers which they have, but they are also entirely put forth by Ugandans. You know, now there are certain powers that cannot be delegated. For example, the powers to elect someone, especially now local councils. You cannot say that I'm overtaking them, the kind of answer we were given. And we are still waiting for them. We are talking about the executive. As parliamentarians, we await the executive to show us from the laws, the books of Uganda, where we are provided, or where it's provided, that at a certain time, the minister will bring an instrument to put guidelines of an expiry of a term of local councils. You get it.
Okay. One thing I should return to, we are in a crisis, but one that is not acute enough for us to stop in the conduct of business. Are we at that point? For example, when you look at the role of LCs and how they've transitioned right from the time of the National Resistance Councils, or rather resistance councils, if the election is not held anytime soon, the minister says the funds are not, the Prime Minister says the funds are not there and they won't be found anytime soon, what is going to fail? I want to understand so that I can quickly relate that to how effective or how important the local council dispensation is to our setup, whether political or administrative.
By the way, first of all, the kind of reasoning being forwarded, we are not in agreement. There is no, if you were very keen at the end of the financial year from May, June, Parliament could sit around 3 times when we're saying no to certain expenses over that supplementary that was being asked of us to ensure that we pass it. Those expenses where we put a minority report, they included ensuring that 10.3 billion was put for a one-stop center parking that is for Ministry of Finance. If you recall yesterday, Finance could say that LCs were not a priority, and it's exactly what you are showing us. And that minority we put forward saying no, such expenses are not worthy, included 86.4 billion under the non-alignment movement conference in Monyonyo. We could also say it was not worthy to put 57.6 billion to give it to the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development for court settlement. We also said it's not worthy to put 45.7 billion again for EXCOM concession. And then also it included 135 billion for classified. So expenditures for State House. Now, you realize the kind of reasoning that was forwarded, saying that there is no money, 59 billion, they cannot find it to fund the election of LCs, whereas other priorities are elsewhere. That's why we are saying, vis-a-vis what LCs are doing, if today you are paying them even 10,000, you have managed to increase. Where is the priority of this country? And are they really minding about what these LCs do? You are aware from the time of start, everyone in this country needs an LC1 chairperson. Talk about the security, talk about the gatherings that need even mosquito nets distribution, everyone will need an LC. But why are you rendering them powerless? Where have you been when these people's term was moving on 5 years down the road? So in all this, whatever they are saying, it's all about prioritization. Okay. To them, the kind of LC election is not key, but what the underlying issue is, are you trying to overtake the powers of Ugandans? Are you saying that the decentralization process or the devolution? By the way, before I can go any further, let me tell you that amongst our national objectives in this country is what we call devolution and decentralization. National objective, part 2, then Roman numeral 3, the state shall be guided by the principle of decentralization and devolution of government functions and powers to the people at appropriate levels where they can best manage and direct their own affairs.
Okay, local council elections. It's a multifaceted, no, not multifaceted, but I see problems at 3 levels. First, priorities. There's also an attempt to overthrow the constitution.
To the powers of Ugandans.
The fact that elections that ought to be held are not going to be held, and that management and administration will go on. That's a question that we are going to be asking and seeking answers to when we return from the break. But whether you can get a letter right now and take to NERA as you want to get or procure a national ID remains to be seen. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're glad you're still with us here on the Kickstarter segment of Morning at NTV. We are discussing the LC or local council administration dilemma in the country. Elections for local councils 1 and 2 were supposed to be held before today. That means right now the nation is operating under illegality. The Prime Minister says it's okay. We don't have money to conduct those elections and we should be able to find a way to go along. The judiciary says for all judges who will be issuing down any rulings, they will have to be considerate and look at this matter from the point of view of the reality that we are now in. Can we bend justice to the whatever direction we want, or should we have a steady, established and unbendable way of doing things? Allow me welcome Honorable John Musila to the program. Very good morning and welcome.
Good morning and Jah bless His Majesty Emperor Selassie Rastafari.
All right.
Listeners, just forgive me for coming late because of the jams.
That's perfectly understandable.
And I started at 5. I'm arriving at 8.
Your legislators and infrastructure is very critical. So how best you will be able to ensure that these issues are rectified remains to be seen.
Yeah, sure.
Allow me bring you up to speed with the discussion that is as confusing, as mind-boggling as they come. We do not have local councils as I speak because elections have not been held. The government says it is not a crisis. In other words, we can still operate as we find a way on how to conduct the elections and the mandate of these leaders is renewed. If it is a crisis, how deep is it? If it is not a crisis, why shouldn't we be concerned?
It's not a crisis.
It is not.
Say. It's not a crisis at all. Premised on what I want to say. One is that LC 1 and LC 2 are not governments. They are not local governments.
Okay.
They are not local governments. Local governments are 3. 2 are functional. 1 not yet operationalized. And that is LC 3, LC 5. LC 4 is not. LC 5. LC 4 is assemblies in the municipalities, but otherwise in the rural areas, no. So it is LC 3 and LC 5. Now the regional tier is not yet operationalized. So when you say that we are going to create a confusion, and no, it is not there. Okay. It's not there. Number two, I wish to say this. Haven't we had the same situation some time back?
2018. Did
we create confusion in the country from these patriots? Actually, we are almost parasitic and useless to this country.
All right.
Oh yes, that is true. I'm saying it. It is me. I'm saying it. The 20 something million I earn from Eastern Uganda is almost useless. I'm a parasite. I'm a parasite. The real functions, the real moving of this country are by those patriots. The 70,000 over LC1s and the about 11,000 LC2s. Together, 80-something thousand. Those are the ones moving this country.
I see a contradiction in what you're saying.
Yes.
You've just told me we do not have a crisis upon us.
Yes.
And here you are again telling me that those are the real parties that move things. Allow me understand.
I will allow you to understand. But if they are doing what they are doing, why should we be so elitist about them? Why should we be so legalistic about them? These people who simply sacrifice to work, and you think subjecting them to elections and everything like that, that is elitism. That is our intellectuality here. You see? I carried Museveni's book.
Okay, sowing the mustard
sowing the mustard seed. Now, when he started AROC, there is a page, this is the original copy, 190. I don't have time to read. But
just pick from the...
Oh, yeah, I can. Some except I can.
Yeah.
At the beginning, there were some difficulties with RCs at the time, at the lower levels, because they were not properly funded. Their function then was really only identifying problems and petitioning national leaders. That is running from LC1 to LC5. The decentralization statute now, which is an act of 1997, the decentralization statute 1993 gave the RCs or the LCs power over civil servants by giving them supervisory powers as well as money.
Excuse me.
At the district level, there are now district service commissions which are responsible for appointment and the discipline of civil servants. Now, this is at the level of government, local government, like I said, LC3 and LC5. There you could create a crisis. You could create a crisis. But the moment you go lower than that, LC2, LC3, I know, there could be also a crisis around LC2 because LC2 chairpersons are also chairpersons of parish development committees. I know, I'm aware. I'm aware. But we shouldn't be so scared that the country is in pandemonium and we cannot move. No, that's not right. That's not right. No.
I'm glad you say that because I wasn't scared as such, but I'm trying to understand. We have a crisis that shouldn't be a crisis, but we could also fall prey to missing the point when we actually should be keeping our eyes on the ball. Why is this not a priority to government? Elections should be held.
I think in the mind...
Are you justifying the fact that government can...
No. I can't justify that. I think having come from COVID.
Yeah, very quickly.
From COVID, possibly, and having gone through another election, possibly there is a problem with money. I don't understand the nitty-gritty within.
Excuse
me.
Just speak to Honorable Musila so that perhaps he can understand what the crisis is.
5 years back, we had elections of LC1s and the entire LC1s and LC2s, the administrative units. And I'm glad, it may say that we may not be fully as useful as those LC1s and LC2s. But recall, For us, MPs or even the executive ministers, anyone at the village level, these over 45 million Ugandans cannot quickly reach us. But their easiest point of contact and service delivery and inquiry, they are the administrative units. But what are we trying to say? If you come and tell us from anywhere that Ugandans, we don't have 59 billions to run the elections of the administrative units, you are telling us a lie. Why? Recall how many times we've sat, if it was a priority. Remember around May, June, the way we could say no to the supplementary they had brought, until later on, whatever was done, when even you people have come from Chankwazi and the budget passed. But if you can have money for classified over 100 billion, you have money for Mnyonyo, and yet it was over, even earlier on when we said no to the 80 billion, you had to put the 86 billion, and a lot has happened. Why are you telling Ugandans that you don't have the 59 billion to see that elections? But that aside, we are seeing an intended way of usurping powers of this decentralized, or the decentralized way of governance. Part of Uganda's issues is trying to usurp the other person's power. Today we are talking about decentralization being failed by re-centralization. We'll see how all the districts and municipalities talk about the local governments. The way they are crying, money taken, whatever little they are using is not anywhere because the center has taken it under Ministry of Finance. That system. You are entirely failing the chairpersons, or even of districts. You are failing the mayors. Now it has come even to governance powers. By the way, when you fail elections, it's not about administrative powers only. You are getting to the constitution whereby Ugandans have even resolved themselves that we shall be governed in this line. Even LCs are part of their way of governance. Recall, all that history will tell us. But as this constitution was being put in place, the preamble is clear with the people of Uganda, recalling our history. So they looked at so many things, whether before the women were not there or whatever they looked at.
In other words, there is need not to set a wrong precedent. If elections at any one level or at whatever dispensation should be held, must be held.
Yes.
That should be something we should not debate.
That is it. That is it.
Whether it plunges us into a crisis or not, we must settle some things and know that elections will be held, so that precedents are set. And here you are, you seem to be putting government on a... You're literally excusing them that this is not the most important of things, and even if we miss it, we can still move forward. A
few minutes ago, I told you, even those who have just come, the LC1s, LC2s, we had that precedence. We delayed again some time back. Actually, it was a long delay with that structure of LC1 and LC2. But I've explained that it does not throw this country into a crisis. No. It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. While it is true that my colleague sees it, we are at intellectual, elitist levels. That's what we can say and do and think.
In other words, you
it
are
doesn't.
Saying,
I am a former LC5 chairperson.
We have greater issues to talk about than be perturbed about.
And that's
that is it.
And
that
that's
is it.
where they are missing the
Number
point.
Number two, did she blow the whistle in Parliament that we were about to have these elections?
Was it in Parliament last week?
2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
Even last week.
Maybe, no, last week I was not there.
By the time they told us 59 billion, we had raised it as a matter of national importance. And we are seeing that 10th is about to come. It seems for them they had gone to sleep. They could not see that 10th in July is a little near. That's why we brought this matter. That what have you planned?
All right.
Now, secondly...
Honourables, let me just go to Chengera, where my colleague Stephen Mbide is standing by. We need to pick the minds of some of the local government officials, local council officials there on exactly the way forward, because we might think it's not a crisis, but they think it's a crisis.
Okay, fine.
It could also be the other way. Right. Let's just go to Stephen Mbide. Good morning, Stephen.
Good morning to you, Chris. This is Chengera, in particular Wachimese zone. I'm here going to be speaking to the chairperson of Wachimese zone mukulu Expedito Ganagwa chairman nno wanjawulo kubanga yomu kubenjawulo kubanga kuva mu mwaka 93 ye ssentebe w'ekitundu kino gino gye myaka nga 30 ssentebe ngo ekintu kino okikuttemu mugitambudde kitya
Nimo tikibadde mbi gitambudde bulungi ne wakubadde bagamba tigwakanga musana kakirota manya
kakirota bulamu
naye ebintu bingi ebibaddewo emyaka ejasatu gye tubadde tugenda mu maaso naye nga mu mbeera ya bulijjo sibabaddewo nnyo mitalabana mu kitundu kyange kino yadde emisango kubanga emisango oluusi gikwata naffe abeerosi naddala mu by'amataka amataka gatabudde nnyo erosi
tugabaga mu abaerosi mwe nnyini mwe mubeera mu mivuyo gino egy'ettaka
abantu baga nti tugibeeramu naye abafere bangi abatuyingiza ebitimba byabwe
anti gwe chairman gwoteekako omukono ku ndagaano nti nguze ate n'olina ajja naye poloti yeemu noba
ajja n'akulimba nti enkya nze ngenda kusasula muwozi mwezi emitwalo miliyoni 3 miliyoni 2 naye bwagenda okutunuulira ekibanja nga agamba nti ekibanja kino kinene tibayinza ga miliyoni kyagula miliyoni 2 akateekeko 8 oba 10 oba 15 kale naawo n'olowooza nti ajja kusasula ogenda okulaba oli n'alemererwa awo obuzibu webugira
njala tudde ku nsonga y'olunaku olwaleero gwe tokyali ssentebe era kisinga ossaako omukono olwaleero oba okikoze mu bumenyi bw'amateeka
nkyali ssentebe kubanga
ekyaweddeko
ekisaajali bwe kiggwako tekitegeeza nti oviirako ddala awo kubanga ne kiba kya mukulu Museveni era wabaayo okulonda era ekiseera kigenda ng'akyaliwo nga ne kampeyini zibeerawo na biki n'olwekyo ezinnaba kuvaako kubanga gavumenti egambe terina ssente
naye kati tolina bweraliikirivu singa ossa omukono ku kiwandiiko kyonna omutalaze okitwala mu kkooti n'agamba kino kyakolebwa bweru w'amateeka kubanga ssentebe ekiseera ekyo yali omukono ekisanja kyali kyaggwako dda
ekisanja bwe kiggwako wabaawo enteekateeka endala tekitegeeza nti ssentebe aba avuddeko era mu kiseera ekyo aba akola ne bwe kibanga kiweddeko singa babaddeyo okuteekateeka okulonda era twandisibadde tugenda mu maaso okutuusa lwandironze era bye tuba tukola mu kiseera ekyo biba bituufu era ne gavumenti eba ebikakasa ti gavumenti eyinza bwegamba nti etadde LC eba naye egudde kubanga yeri wansi ddala ku ground n'olwekyo teyinza kugamba nti olwokubanga ekiseera kibaddeko tebajja kukola kubanga enteekateeka endala ezijja ziba zirinda mu chairman oyo aveeko bazeeko omulala
olinga asekera mu kikonde kubanga byali myaka 17 nga tewali kulonda 2018 ne tulonda ne bakuddamu ne babikyengera wano Wakimesi ne bakuddamu ne bakuwa ekisanja ekirala myaka 17 era nga gwovuga kati ne kino olabanga era ekizze mu kaseera nti tuyinza kumala n'emyaka mirala 2 era nga gwokyavuga
ate munayo bati banzigyeko nga n'obulamu bukyaliwo era mba ngenda mu maaso naye ekiseera era kituuka ninze waliwo ne lwe nalaba chairman omu ng'ali ku ndiru naye nga yakulembera ng'era n'ebiwandiika biteekako ki nga akyayogera nga n'emikono asobola okuwandiika naye ng'ali awo yebase wansi naye ng'akola kale n'olwekyo sisekera mu kikonde naye kyeŋŋamba embeera bw'eti ebeerawo mu mbeera eza bulijjo ne mu nkola nebiirawo naye
kati kino ekyokuba nti bayongezaayo tekizze na kusoomooza kwonna kwonna kwe mugamba nti omugugu omwetise mwe ng'abakulembeze b'ebitundu oyogedde ku bumenyi bw'amateeka obubeerabeerawoko n'enkaana z'ettaka na biki gwe ate nga gavumenti ekuwa omutwalo gumu gwokka nga ssentebe oba oliawo ne kino kyongera ku mivuyo gino kuba nti mwe bassentebe ate olukiiko lwo teruwewadde 10 oba oliawo kireetawo nakyo okuba mivuyo gino nga givudde mu bairosi n'abantu tolaba kusomooza okuba nti bongeddeyo ekisanja bongeddeyo nga temunaakulonda kiyinza okubakalubirizamu ati nenkola yammwe y'emirimu
okusomoozebwa tikujja kuba kungi kubanga enkola tugimanyi n'embeera yonna tugibaddemu naddala fe abaluddemu tumanyi buli kintu kyonna embeera nga bweyetambula tetuyinza kukola mistake olwokubanga tugize eki nolwekyo ate mu kiseera kino lwe tuyinza okubeera abeegendereza ennyo kubanga abantu abaagala okusoomooza gavumenti bwe baba nga basobola okuvaayo ne bakikola nolwekyo tulina kubeera abeegendereza nnyo okulaba nti tukola mazima meere tukola birungi.
Tumalirize nga obubaka obubaka buweeza bannakyengera wano mu Nsangi ne Kyengera Town Council kussa ne Wakiso kubanga ne yali amyuka ssentebe Wakiso kati nga mubaka omukyala wakiikira ekitundu kino ekye Wakiso Ethel Naluyima n'omubaka omulala mwe bali mu studios abakukyo bagamba bo nga bakulembeze bammwe ate era nga abatuukeyo butereevu ne gavumenti ne baminisita bagenda kubanga basingana era minisita wa local government Rafael Magezi n'abalala mu nkola yammwe ey'emirimu kikyagala babayo nga batuusa mu ddoboozi eri palamenti n'eri gavumenti.
Era nze mbasaba busabi babeere nga bakyatutadde mu bwesige era nga bakolagana naffe mu ngeri yonna si lwakuba nti ekisanja kiweddeko naye tubadde nabo ayo tubadde tutambula nabo n'emirimu gya gavumenti ne polisi za gavumenti bo bagenda mu maaso nazo ate nga naffe eno wansi tuba tuzikwatirira n'okuzibunyisa mu bantu era balina okugera ki okusigala nga bakolagana naffe bulungi. Mbeebaza ebyo byonna bye bakoze mu kiseera kino kye tubadde nga tuddukana nabyo emiramu tubeebaza nnyo era tubasaba bagende mu maaso naffe okutuusa lwe banaatulonda ne baleeta abalala be bagenda okukolagana nabo.
Webale nnyo mukulu Expedito Ganaggwa ssentebe w'ekitundu kino ekye Wakimese mu Kyengera Town Council we tubadde nkuzaayo mu studios kubanga tukyayogera ku nsonga eno eya obukulembeze bw'ebitundu okubanga kati the local council LC1 elections have been put on hold because government says it doesn't have the 59 billion shillings to organize these elections for over 70 villages that we have in Uganda. Stephen Imbido, Fefeso Chibuga, handing you back to the studios.
Thank you very much, Stephen Imbido there, speaking to the local council official at Wakimese. Now, what I pick from that conversation is legality and legitimacy. These are two things.
Exactly.
The elite are grappling with legality.
Exactly.
But the system is still legitimate and operations can go on. However, Musei brings to the fore something that we should perhaps pay attention to. Land wrangles in the country have long been attributed to some of the underhand dealings of local councils. I'll be coming to Honorable Betty Ethel Naluyima to, well, counter the argument of legality, but legitimacy is well accepted. Land wrangles.
Her own voter, maybe?
Okay, of course, her own voter.
Yeah, sure.
You've had Musei from Wakimese village talk. He has ably summed this up for the country. It is not a crisis, but aspects of legality are there that we should actually pay attention to. I do not know whether if the term for president and MP came to an end and we didn't have funds, would we also not be in a crisis?
That would be a terrible crisis.
And what we are saying is not about individualism. By the way, for example, now in Wakiso, many of those LCs, both at parish level and local council, I was part of their campaign. By then I was still in DP and many of them are opposition. But we are saying, now I'm in National Unity Platform. My president is Kyagulanyi and we know that we are given the vote. We thank Ugandans. We are also still around. But that aside, we are not saying that selfishly overtake the constitution because it's what we are doing indirectly. We are saying power belongs to the people of Uganda. Let it be entirely legitimized. That's how it's supposed to be. Don't take advantage of certain situations. Plan accordingly. Why am I saying this? Imagine, assuming Uganda was a school. For the people to plan for the school, they are the HMs, the board of directors, and the board of governors. For them, the children, the pupils or students, as long as you send them, they put on their uniforms, they go to class, whether they have had the whole class, they'll say, Mommy, for me, I study. They will not mind about the processes that happen in the school. It's you, the board of governors, together with the directors and the key staff, to say that all is well. It's what we are standing for. To all my LC1s and LC2s, and given the fact that I'm representing them in both the alternative government and as their leader in Wakiso, I cannot leave things to go unquestioned the way this executive is doing to us. We cannot see that happen and we keep quiet. We want legitimacy put forward and we want people to be in office by the powers enshrined in the Constitution. That's
Honorable
our
John
argument.
Musila, can you wrap this up by addressing the fact that we should not sidestep the law and overthrow the Constitution because it's convenient?
Overthrow the Constitution because the 80-something thousand people, leaders of this country at the grassroots, who do the bulk of work, sacrificing for this country, just because of a written word that you have overthrown? Really? We must reason like that? I don't think so.
If you're going to sidestep the small aspects and then you create precedents and then you pile up a trend of disregarding and telling ourselves that no, this can be done because after all it's a small thing. When it comes to time for the big things, what are you going to tell this country?
How many leaders?
Haven't you set us up?
How many leaders do we have in this country? In total, I have not been able to
No,
go
I
through.
can't also put that.
That's very true.
That's right.
But are we to the level of those leaders? Number two, the old man with his wisdom, and I thank him for that. Honorable, you have a wise old man.
Wachimese Parish Village.
Who says even during, you see the reasoning, even during campaigns you would be still working as LC1s. Yes, he's right in what he has said and his reasoning. The truth is, we shouldn't over pump this thing to be so we hyper it. We think that it's now a crisis in the country, we cannot move. No, I reasoned clearly. I said that at LC1, it is not a government. LC2 is not a government. Government begins at LC3 onwards.
So they do transactions.
They do. The same law you and I put in place, the same law you and I read and legislate on is there. So it's not a crisis. Number two, those who sacrifice to do the right thing in this country shouldn't be threatened just because in an elitist way we threaten, we are overthrowing the Constitution. No. Let them continue. But that does not mean that I'm saying government has done, it is right not to carry out. No.
Or even to apportion money to conduct these elections.
Yes, but we are here. And I want my younger sister to know that I'm not an apologist towards government for overstepping its mandate.
I'll allow the two of you after the show to have 20 minutes, a cup of coffee, so the debate can perhaps be settled once and for all. That has been Honorable John Musila, MP for Bubulo East, and Honorable Betty Etho Naluyima, the woman MP for Wakiso District, debating the local administration leadership dilemma. John Musila says it is not a dilemma, there is no crisis. Betty Etho Naluyima says if the government can get away with this, well, it might get away with something else in the future. Chris Higgins is my name. Priscilla Regina Naloga will be back with